They laughed at the ancient warship, then discovered it was human-made. Part 5. Humanity's Legacy. 3 ancient warships emerged from quantum space like ghosts returning to the living world. The Prometheus was a dreadnought twice the size of the Indomitable, its hull covered in the scars of ancient battles. Beside it came the battlecruiser Defiant and the carrier Sanctuary, both equally massive and terrifying. Captain Da-Un's hologram appeared on the Indomitable's bridge. She looked younger than Captain June, but her eyes held the same ancient knowledge. Captain Tae-min, Captain June, it's good to see humans again, even if the circumstances are terrible. You've been out here for 50,000 years? Tae-min asked. How? We went into deep hibernation, Da-Yun explained. We scattered across the galaxy, waiting in hidden locations. When the Indomitable activated, it sent out a signal. We woke up, and we brought something we've been working on for a very long time. The coalition fleet formed up around the ancient human vessels. The Silence's converted ships advanced, but the 3 new warships cut through them like knives through paper. Their weapons were even more powerful than the Indomitables, refined by millennia of automated research and self-improvement. But the Silence kept coming. For every converted ship destroyed, 2 more appeared. The distortion zone pulsed and grew. We can't win by just fighting, Commander Ralvin said. There's too many of them. Correct, Captain Da-Un agreed. That's why we don't plan to fight. We plan to contain. Her hologram changed to show a complex diagram. The Silence exists partially outside our dimension. It needs anchor points to fully manifest. We can't destroy it, but we can trap it in a closed space-time loop, a pocket dimension where it can't reach our reality. Dr. Sun-hee studied the plan. This would require simultaneous overload of all 4 quantum drives. The energy release would be enormous, catastrophic. Yes, Da-Yun confirmed. And someone needs to stay with the drives to maintain the containment field. It's a permanent assignment, forever. Silence filled the channel. Everyone understood what that meant. Whoever stayed would be trapped in a pocket dimension with the Silence for all eternity. We'll do it, Captain June said immediately. The AI commanders. We've been waiting 50,000 years. We can wait longer. No one should have to make that sacrifice, Counselor Vrenthar said. His voice carried real sorrow. Is there no other way? Yun and Min worked together, running calculations. There might be, Min said slowly. If we upload a complete consciousness into the containment field, it could serve as a living lock. But it needs to be a consciousness that understands sacrifice, that understands what it means to be human. That's something the Silence has never encountered. We're digital consciousnesses already, Captain Da-Yun said. We're perfect for this. And honestly, we're tired. We've been soldiers for so long. Let us finally complete our mission. Jiwoo's eyes filled with tears. You'll be trapped forever with that thing, alone. Not alone, Captain June said gently. We'll have each other. And we'll have the memories of Earth, of humanity, of everything we're protecting. That's more than enough. The battle intensified. The Silence threw everything it had at the combined fleet. Captain Hana's destroyer was caught in a spatial distortion. Her voice came through calm even as her ship began to transform. Fleet, this is Hana. I'm setting my ship to self-destruct. Don't let that thing learn from my sacrifice. The destroyer exploded, taking 3 converted ships with it. Taemin's hands shook. Begin the quantum drive sequence. All 4 ships. We're ending this now. The ancient warships moved into formation, creating a perfect square around the distortion zone. Their drives began to charge, building power that made space itself tremble. Inside the Indomitable, Jiwoo suddenly grabbed her father's arm. Wait, I just realized something. I can interface with these systems better than anyone. My generation has genetic enhancements, old modifications from the colony era that are finally expressing again. I should stay. I could maintain the lock better than an AI. Absolutely not, Taemin said firmly. You're not sacrificing yourself. Dad, No. Taemin pulled his daughter close. You're the future. The AIs are the past. Let the past protect the future. That's how it should be. Captain June smiled sadly. Your father is right, Jiwoo. You have so much life ahead of you. Live it for us. Live it for all the humans who died so you could be born. The quantum drives reached critical power. Space around the 4 warships began to fold and twist. The Silence sensed the trap and tried to retreat, but it was too late. Reality tore open. A pocket dimension formed, pulling the Silence inside like water down a drain. The converted ships, the distortion zone, everything connected to it was sucked into the closing space-time loop. The AIs, Captain June, Captain Dawn, and their companions, uploaded themselves into the containment field. Their final transmissions came through. "Tell humanity we're proud of them," Captain June said. "You rebuilt from nothing. You survived. You're stronger than we ever were. Remember us," Captain Dawn added, "but don't mourn us. We died 50,000 years ago. This is just finishing what we started." The pocket dimension sealed shut. The ancient warships vanished, taking their AIs with them. In their place remained only a stable spatial anomaly, beautiful and terrible, a scar on reality that would last forever. The battle was over. The silence was contained. The galaxy was safe. The Coalition fleet drifted in silence, processing what had just happened. Then slowly, ships began broadcasting messages of respect, flags lowered to half-mast. Even Vintar, humbled beyond words, transmitted an official apology to humanity. A ceremony was held at the spatial anomaly 3 days later. Ships from every Coalition species attended. Counselor Miren, a human representative to the Coalition Council, gave a speech. "They laughed at the ancient warship," she said. "They mocked what they didn't understand. Today we learned that judging by appearance is not just wrong, it's dangerous. Humanity has a long memory. We remember sacrifice, we remember duty, and we remember that strength comes not from technology, but from the willingness to protect others." The Coalition formally recognized humanity as a founding species, not a junior member, but equals with full rights and respect. Historical records were updated. Children across the galaxy would learn about the ancient human sacrifice. Taemin returned to the second chance with Jiwoo and his crew. They were different now, carrying the weight of knowledge and loss. But they also carried hope. 3 months later, while investigating another debris field, Jiwoo detected something impossible. A signal using old Earth military codes. UEDF Fortress Horizon reactivation sequence initiated. Awaiting orders. "Welcome home, humanity." Taemin looked at the coordinates. Another ancient installation waiting in the darkness. More secrets to uncover. More history to reclaim. "Hyun," he said with a smile. "Plot a course. We've got more family to wake up." The second chance turned toward the signal, carrying modern humans toward their ancient past. The galaxy had laughed at humanity once. They would never make that mistake again. Behind them, the spatial anomaly pulsed gently, an eternal reminder that sometimes the greatest strength is knowing what you're willing to sacrifice, and having the courage to do it. The ancient warship was gone, but its legacy remained. Humanity had returned to the stars, carrying the memory of those who had died to make that return possible. And somewhere in a pocket dimension outside of time, ancient AIs stood guard against an eternal darkness, forever protecting the descendants of Earth. Their watch would never end, and they wouldn't want it any other way. They laughed at the ancient warship, then discovered. It was human-made Part 4. The silence returns, the spatial distortions grew stronger. On every ship's display, reality itself seemed to bend and twist at the edge of the system. 3 Coalition scout ships moved forward to investigate. "Scout Group Alpha report," Commander Ralvin ordered from his battle cruiser. Static answered him. Then nothing. The scout ship simply vanished from sensors. Minutes later, wreckage appeared. But it wasn't normal wreckage. The ships had been transformed into geometric structures that pulsed with impossible colors. The metal had been folded and reshaped into patterns that hurt to look at. Dr. Sun-hee worked frantically at her science station. "This is wrong. The matter has been restructured at a quantum level. The ships aren't just destroyed, they've been converted into something else." Young Dr. Young-soo, a human physicist on Taemin's crew, helped analyze the data. "It's rewriting the physical rules of matter itself. Energy feeds it. Mass feeds it. Everything feeds it." Captain June's hologram appeared on every Coalition ship's display. "That is the silence. Do not use energy weapons against it. Do not try to communicate with it. It will learn from everything you do and adapt. The only weapons that worked for us were kinetic, physical projectiles fired at extreme speeds." Ambassador Vintar's voice came through, panicked now. "This is a human weapon. They brought this here to destroy us." "You fool," Counselor Vrenthar snapped. "The historical data is clear. Humans ran from this thing. They sacrificed their homeworld to escape it. Why would they bring it back? Then we should retreat, Vintar insisted. Leave this system immediately. It's too late for that, Captain June said. Once the silence locks onto technological signatures, it follows. Running only spreads it further. We must contain it here or lose everything. A coalition cruiser, the Eternal Dawn, moved too close to the distortion zone. The crew's final transmission chilled everyone who heard it. Something's happening to us. The ship! It's changing. We're changing. Oh gods, we can see it now. We can see everything it sees. We are becoming. The transmission ended. The Eternal Dawn transformed into a twisted sculpture of metal and flesh, geometric and terrible. Then it began moving toward the fleet, its weapons charging with energy that shouldn't exist. Fire on that ship, Ralvin ordered. Don't let it reach us. Plasma bolts and particle beams struck the converted cruiser. Instead of destroying it, the energy was absorbed. The ship grew larger, more complex, more dangerous. Stop, Captain June shouted. You're feeding it. Ralvin immediately ceased fire. All ships, kinetic weapons only. Use missiles, railguns, anything that doesn't feed it energy. The Indomitable's massive weapons rotated into position. They were the primitive projectile launchers the Coalition had mocked. Now they fired. The sound was deafening even in the vacuum of space transmitted through the ship's hull. Metal slugs the size of buildings launched at incredible speeds. Powered by magnetic acceleration and gravity manipulation, they struck the converted cruiser and punched clean through it. The ship broke apart, its twisted structure unable to repair fast enough. The pieces drifted into space, still pulsing with wrong energy but no longer a threat. It works, Ralvin said, amazed. The ancient tactics actually work. More converted ships appeared from the distortion zone, coalition vessels that had gone missing months ago, now transformed and controlled by the silence. They moved in perfect coordination, adapting to every defensive strategy the fleet attempted. On the Indomitable's bridge, Taman watched the battle unfold. We can't win this way. There are too many of them and more keep coming. Agreed, Captain June said. We need to strike at the source. The silence requires anchor points, places where it can fully enter our dimension. If we can destroy the anchor, we can force it back into whatever space it comes from. Jiwoo studied the sensor data. There, at the center of the distortion, something is generating a stable field. That must be the anchor. We can't reach it, Boram pointed out. The converted ships form a defensive wall. Any ship that tries to get through will be overwhelmed. Yun's voice came through from engineering. Captain June, what about the ship's quantum drive? Could we use it to create a stable wormhole directly to the anchor point? The AI paused, processing. Theoretically, yes. But the drive was damaged in my final battle. It can only create one more wormhole before it fails completely, and someone would need to stay with it to maintain the stabilization field. That's a one-way trip, Taman said quietly. Yes, Captain June agreed. Whoever goes won't come back. The Coalition fleet continued fighting, but they were losing ground. More ships fell to the silence's converted vessels. The distortion zone expanded, reaching toward nearby colony worlds. Captain Hana of the Coalition destroyer Vigilant volunteered her ship to lead evacuation efforts. We're pulling back civilians from the outer colonies. If we can't stop this thing, we need to save who we can. Young Min, the engineering genius on Taiman's crew, worked with Hyun to prepare the quantum drive. I think I can extend its stability by 20%. That gives whoever goes through maybe 10 minutes instead of 5. 10 minutes to destroy an anchor point we don't understand. Using weapons we're not sure will work. Boram summarized. Great odds. Taman looked at his daughter. Jiwoo was young, brilliant, and had her whole life ahead of her. He looked at Boram, a trained warrior who understood sacrifice. He looked at the hologram of Captain June, an AI who had waited 50,000 years for humans to return. I'll go, Taman said. I'm the captain. It's my responsibility. No, Captain June said firmly. You are needed here. You are human. Your people need leadership for what comes after. I will go. You're an AI, Boram said. You can't physically interact with the anchor point. Then I will guide whoever goes, Captain June replied. But humans should not be the ones to die. You have already sacrificed too much. Before anyone could argue further, Jiwoo gasped. Wait, look at this. I'm picking up a signal. It's coming from deeper in space, beyond the distortion. She transferred the signal to the main display. It was a message using the same old Earth military codes. Don't use Protocol Omega, the message said. There is another way. Earth's children must not repeat the sacrifice. We are coming. Who sent that? Taman demanded. Captain June's hologram flickered with surprise. Those codes belonged to the UEDF dreadnought Prometheus and her sister ships. They were part of the rearguard fleet, but they should have been destroyed 50,000 years ago. Well, apparently they weren't, Hyun said. And they're saying they have a solution. The spatial distortion suddenly spiked. But this time the signatures were different. Ships were coming through. Massive ancient warships even larger than the Indomitable. 3 of them materialized. Their weapons already firing on the Silence's converted vessels. The lead ship broadcast on all frequencies. This is Captain Da-Yun of the UEDF dreadnought Prometheus. We've been waiting for this moment. All ships form up on our position. We're going to finish what we started 50,000 years ago. Taman felt hope for the first time since the battle began. The ancient human fleet was returning, and they had a plan. The question was, would it be enough? The bridge of the Indomitable was vast. Control stations lined the walls, designed for a crew of hundreds. Holographic displays flickered to life as Taemin, Jiwoo, and Boram entered. At the center of the room, a figure materialized. A woman in her 50s wearing a dark military uniform covered in symbols none of them recognized. I am Captain June, the hologram said. Or I was long ago. Now I am merely a memory preserved in quantum processors. What happened? Taemin asked. Why is a human warship 50,000 years old? Our history says we only reached space 800 years ago. The hologram flickered as if struggling with damaged memories. Your history is incomplete. Humanity was not always as you are now. Once we controlled thousands of star systems. We had technology that made us equals to any species in the galaxy. Jiwoo stepped forward. Then what happened? Why don't we remember? Captain June's expression turned dark. We ran. We ran from something terrible. The bridge displays changed, showing star maps of galaxies that looked alien and strange. Then sections of those maps began to go dark, as if something was eating the stars themselves. We called it the Silence, Captain June continued. We discovered it in deep space during an exploration mission. At first, we thought it was a natural phenomenon. Then we realized it was alive. Or perhaps alive is the wrong word. It was conscious, hungry. It consumed everything it touched. Boram's military training kicked in. What was it? An alien species? A weapon? Neither. Both. We never truly understood it, Captain June admitted. It existed partially outside normal space. It converted matter and energy into extensions of itself. Every ship we sent against it was absorbed and turned into more of it. Every colony it reached became part of its mass. It learned from everything it consumed. The displays showed human fleets engaging strange geometric ships that moved in ways that violated physics. The battles were horrific. Human vessels exploded or simply stopped functioning, their crews still alive inside as the ships transformed into alien structures. We fought for a century, Captain June said. Humanity threw everything we had at the Silence. We developed new weapons, new defenses, new strategies. Nothing worked. It adapted faster than we could innovate. We were losing. Taemin felt sick. So what did humanity do? We made the hardest choice any species has ever made, the hologram replied. We decided to run. Not just retreat, we decided to erase ourselves from the galaxy. Another display activated. This one showed a woman in an admiral's uniform, her eyes haunted by terrible knowledge. The recording was old, corrupted by time, but her words were clear. I am Admiral Sujin, commander of the evacuation fleet. If you are watching this, then some of us survived. The enemy cannot be defeated with our current technology. Perhaps it cannot be defeated at all. So we scatter. We take humanity across the galaxy to places the Silence has never touched. We erase our trail. We destroy our own navigation data. We let the galaxy forget we ever existed. The recording showed thousands of colony ships launching into the darkness, each heading in a different direction. Warships like the Indomitable formed defensive lines, buying time with their lives. Every human world was evacuated, Captain June explained. Billions of people packed into colony ships with minimal supplies. We sent them to distant galaxies, uncharted regions, anywhere the Silence hadn't reached. We gave them genetic libraries, basic technology, everything they needed to restart civilization. And Earth? Jiwoo asked, though she already feared the answer. Captain June's image flickered with what might have been emotion. Earth was the final sacrifice. We collapsed our own sun, created a temporary black hole that consumed everything. The Silence's forces, our remaining fleets, all navigation data pointing to where the colony ships had gone. Earth and 20 billion humans died so that the rest could escape. The room fell silent. Taman felt tears on his face. Their homeworld, the planet that every human remembered in stories and songs, it had been destroyed by humanity itself. Your people, Captain June said gently, are descendants of one of those colony ships. You must have crashed on a world, lost your technology, forgotten your past. You rebuilt from nothing. You rediscovered fire, agriculture, science, space travel. You did it all again without any help, without any memory of what you once were. That's why we're considered primitive, Boram said bitterly, because we had to start over from scratch. Outside, the coalition fleet had sent Counselor Vrenthar, a senior Varathian diplomat, to negotiate. His voice came through the communication system, respectful now instead of mocking. Captain June, this is Counselor Vrenthar. We mean no harm. We did not understand the nature of this vessel. Can we speak about the current situation? Captain June looked at Taman. What do you wish me to do? Taman thought carefully. Tell them the truth. Tell them everything. If the Silence is still out there, the whole galaxy needs to know. The AI transmitted all her historical data to the Coalition fleet. Video, audio, tactical reports, everything preserved in her memory banks. Ships across the fleet received the transmission and with it the terrible truth. Humans were not primitive newcomers. They were survivors of the apocalypse that had erased an entire civilization. Commander Ralvin's voice carried new respect. Captain Taman, we need to know, is this Silence still a threat? My final mission logs are corrupted, Captain June admitted. I was damaged in the last battle. I went into emergency hibernation, waiting for human DNA signatures to reactivate me. I don't know if the Silence was destroyed, contained, or merely delayed. Then we must assume it still exists, Vrenthar said, and we must prepare. Taman felt Hyun's voice crackle through his suit radio. Captain, you need to see this. Long-range sensors are picking up something at the edge of the system. Captain June's hologram flickered. She accessed the external sensors and her expression changed to one of fear, an AI experiencing an emotion she wasn't designed to feel. Spatial distortions, she said, matching patterns from Silence attack formations. After 50,000 years, after everything we sacrificed, her voice trailed off. Jiwoo grabbed her father's arm. Dad, what does that mean? Taman looked at the ancient AI, at his daughter, at the displays showing strange ripples in space growing closer. He knew what it meant. Humanity had run 50,000 years ago. They had died by the billions to escape, and now whatever they had run from had found them again. On every coalition ship, alarms began to sound. Whatever was coming, it was big enough to distort space itself, and according to the ancient records, it had destroyed the most advanced human civilization in history. All ships, battle stations, Commander Ralvin ordered. We're about to find out if the old human tactics still work. Captain June, we need everything you know about fighting this thing. The ancient warship hummed with power as systems came fully online. Outside, the coalition fleet formed defensive positions. Inside, 3 modern humans and 1 ancient AI prepared to face an enemy older than recorded history. The Silence was returning. And this time there was nowhere left to run. The salvage ship Second Chance drifted through the dark edges of known space. Captain Taman sat in his worn pilot seat, watching the stars through the cracked viewport. His daughter Jiwoo worked at the sensor station, her young fingers dancing across the controls with practiced ease. Dad, I'm picking up something strange, Jiwoo said, her eyes fixed on the glowing screen. There's a massive object about 20 kilometers ahead. No power signature, but it's huge. Taman leaned forward. In 40 years of salvage work, he had learned to trust his daughter's instincts. She had a gift for finding valuable wrecks in the endless black. How huge? He asked. Bigger than a coalition battleship. Maybe 5 times bigger. From the engine room below, old Hyun's gruff voice crackled through the intercom. I'm reading the same thing. Whatever it is, it's ancient. The hull materials don't match anything in our database. Taemin activated the main thrusters. The Second Chance moved closer, and slowly the shape emerged from the darkness. It was a warship, but unlike any he had ever seen, the vessel was enormous, covered in scarring from thousands of years of floating through space. Its design was brutal and efficient, with massive gun barrels jutting from every angle. "By the stars," Jiwoo whispered. "What is that thing?" Before Taimin could answer, multiple ships appeared on their sensors. Coalition military vessels, at least a dozen of them. The largest was a Varathian battlecruiser, its red hull gleaming under the distant starlight. A voice boomed through their communication system. "Salvage vessel Second Chance, this is Commander Ralvin of the Coalition 5th Fleet. You will maintain your position. This discovery falls under Coalition jurisdiction." Taimin sighed. Of course, the military had detected it too. Any claim to salvage rights just became much more complicated. Within an hour, the area was swarming with Coalition ships. A shuttle arrived carrying Ambassador Vintar, a tall insectoid Krillisian whose compound eyes reflected every light source with irritating brightness. He boarded the Second Chance without asking permission. "So the human scavengers found something," Vintar said, his mandibles clicking in what Taimin recognized as amusement. "How fortunate that we arrived to handle this properly." "We found it first," Jiwoo said sharply. "Salvage law gives us rights to—" "Child, please," Vintar interrupted. "This is clearly an archaeological matter, not a salvage operation. Your primitive understanding of such things is endearing but unhelpful." Taimin put a hand on his daughter's shoulder, keeping her quiet. Starting a fight with a Coalition ambassador would end badly for them. Over the next few hours, Coalition scientists and military personnel swarmed over the ancient warship. Taimin watched from the Second Chance as they examined the hull, took measurements, and generally behaved as if they owned the discovery. Vintar's voice came through the communication channel, addressing the entire fleet. "Initial analysis confirms this vessel is at least 50,000 years old. Possibly older. The design is remarkably primitive. Look at these weapon systems. They appear to be simple projectile launchers." "How crude," laughter echoed through the channel. Taimin heard Coalition officers making jokes about the ancient ship's design. "It looks like someone welded scrap metal together and called it a warship," one Varathian captain said. "The armor plating is absurdly thick," another added. "Whatever species built this clearly didn't understand energy shielding. Perhaps they hit enemies by ramming them," Vintar suggested, and more laughter followed. Taimin felt a strange discomfort growing in his chest. Something about the mockery bothered him, though he couldn't say why. "Dad, I'm going to check the debris field," Jiwoo said. "Maybe there are smaller pieces worth claiming while they're busy laughing at the big one." "Stay close," Taimin warned. "And keep your suit beacon active." Jiwoo suited up and jetted out into space. She moved through the debris field, scanning pieces of wreckage. Most of it was worthless, metal warped beyond recognition, systems destroyed by time and radiation. Then she saw it. A section of hull plating about 2 meters across, floating near a small asteroid. Something about it caught her eye. She moved closer and activated her helmet lights. There were symbols on the metal, not random scratches, but deliberate markings. Her heart began to pound. She recognized some of them. They looked like old Korean characters, mixed with symbols she had seen in history books about ancient Earth. "Dad," she said into her radio, trying to keep her voice calm. "You need to see this, now." Taimin suited up and joined her within minutes. Hyun came too, curious about what had made Jiwoo's voice sound so strange. The three of them floated in silence, staring at the hull plating. "That's Korean," Hyun said finally. "Old Korean. Very old. And that's English," Taimin added, pointing to another set of symbols. "The kind used on Earth thousands of years ago." Jiwoo's hands shook as she used her scanner to photograph the markings. "Dad, what does this mean?" Taimin felt cold despite his suit's heater. He had studied Earth history as a child. He knew about the Lost Colony era, a time when human records became confused and unclear. He knew about the United Earth Defense Force, the military organization that supposedly vanished during some long-forgotten crisis. These symbols matched the old codes UEDF used. He was certain of it. "This ship isn't alien," he said quietly. "It's human." Hyun grabbed the hull plating, pulling it closer for examination. "That's impossible. Humans have only been in space for 800 years. This ship is 50,000 years old." "Then our history is wrong," Taimin said. "Very wrong." They looked back at the massive warship floating in the distance. Coalition ships surrounded it like insects around a giant. Ambassador Vintar and his scientists were still laughing, still mocking its primitive design. None of them knew what they had really found. None of them knew this ship had been built by human hands. In an age when humanity commanded the stars, what do we do? Jiwoo asked. Taemin made a decision. We stay quiet, we watch. We learn what we can. If that ship is human, and if it's really 50,000 years old, then everything the Coalition believes about us is wrong. Everything we believe about ourselves is wrong. And if they try to destroy it? Hyun asked. Then we stop them, Taemin said. That ship is our heritage. Our history. Whatever secrets it holds, they belong to humanity. Through their helmet radios, they heard Vintar announcing that Coalition teams would begin boarding the ancient vessel at dawn. They would cut through the hull, explore its interior, and catalog everything for Coalition archives. Taemin looked at the warship and felt a strange mixture of pride and dread. Somewhere in that ancient metal were answers to questions humanity had forgotten to ask. And somehow, he knew that waking this ship would change everything. The stars watched in silence as 3 humans floated in space, holding a piece of their forgotten past, while aliens prepared to violate a tomb they didn't understand. The Coalition boarding team gathered near the ancient warship's main airlock. Dr. Sun-hee, a green-skinned Keltorian scientist, directed her assistants as they set up cutting equipment. Ambassador Vintar stood nearby, recording everything for his report to Coalition High Command. Notice the crude locking mechanism, Vintar said to his camera. This civilization clearly never developed proper magnetic seals. How they survived space travel at all is a mystery. On the second chance, Taemin watched through their external cameras. Boram, their security officer and former Coalition Marine, stood beside him with her arms crossed. We should be on that boarding team, Boram said. That's a human ship. They don't know that yet, Taemin replied. And when they find out, I want us to be in a position to act, not trapped inside with them. Jiwoo worked frantically at her console, trying to hack into the Coalition's communication channels. Hyun had taught her a few tricks over the years, and slowly, she gained access to their video feeds. I'm in, she said. I can see what they're seeing. The cutting torches began their work. Bright plasma arcs burned through the ancient metal, which resisted far longer than expected. It took nearly an hour to create an opening large enough for people to pass through. Dr. Sun-hee entered first, followed by 6 armed security personnel and a handful of scientists. The interior was dark, filled with the silence of 50,000 years. Lights, Sun-hee ordered, and powerful beams pierced the darkness. They revealed a corridor wide enough for 10 people to walk side by side. The walls were bare metal, functional and strong. Atmosphere is absent as expected, one scientist reported. Temperature is near absolute zero. No radiation above background levels. They moved deeper into the ship, their magnetic boots clanking against the deck. The corridor split into multiple passages, each leading into darkness. Sun-hee marked their path with electronic beacons. Meanwhile, Taemin, Jiwoo, and Boram used the salvage claim to gain access through a different hull breach that Hyun had cut open. They entered quietly, taking a different route than the Coalition team. Inside, Jiwoo's hands trembled as she illuminated a wall panel. More Korean characters, more English words. Ship designation numbers that matched old Earth military formats. This is real, she whispered. This is actually a human warship. They found crew quarters sized perfectly for human bodies. Control stations with interfaces designed for human hands. Even the corridor height matched human proportions exactly. Deep in the ship, the Coalition team reached what Sun-hee identified as the power core. It was a massive sphere, 30 meters in diameter, suspended in the center of a chamber by gravitational fields that still functioned after all these millennia. Fascinating, Sun-hee said. This appears to be a quantum singularity drive. The theory exists in Coalition science, but we've never successfully built one. The power requirements are immense. A young Krillisian technician, eager to impress Vintar, who was watching remotely, approached a control console. Ambassador, I believe I can interface with their computer systems. Perhaps we can access historical records. Proceed, Vintar ordered. I'm eager to learn what primitive species built this. Curiosity. The technician pulled out a Coalition neural jack and connected it to what appeared to be a data port. It was a terrible mistake. The ship groaned. The sound traveled through the hull like a living thing waking from a long sleep. Lights began to flicker on throughout the vessel. Not white lights, but deep red emergency lighting that bathed everything in bloody shadows. What did you do? Sun He shouted at the technician. Before anyone could answer, the deck plates shifted beneath their feet. Throughout the ship, systems began activating. Screens glowed with data. Mechanical sounds echoed through corridors that had been silent for 50,000 years. Taemin felt the vibration through his boots. It's waking up. The whole ship is waking up. Hull plating moved and adjusted itself. Tiny machines, nanomachines, poured out of hidden compartments, repairing damage, sealing breaches, restoring systems. The coalition team watched in horror as the ship literally healed itself around them. Outside, Commander Ralvin saw the ancient warship's weapons rotate on their mounts. Targeting systems locked onto coalition vessels. Power readings spiked across every sensor. All ships raised shields. Ralvin ordered, "Prepare for possible hostile action." Then the voice came. It echoed through every corridor, spoke through every speaker, filled every radio frequency. It spoke first in ancient Korean, then adapted, learning from the signals around it. Warning. Unauthorized entities detected. This is UEDF Battle Carrier Indomitable, Captain June commanding. State your identification and purpose immediately. The coalition team stood frozen. UEDF, United Earth Defense Force, the ancient human military organization from historical legends. Impossible, Vintar breathed. Humans were primitive 50,000 years ago. They were barely discovering fire. This can't be human. Sun He's scientific mind worked quickly. The voice is speaking an Earth language. The designation is human military format. Ambassador, I believe this vessel is of human origin. Evacuate. Rintar's voice cracked with fear. All personnel evacuate the vessel immediately. The coalition team ran for the exit. Boram grabbed Taemin's arm. We need to go too. No, Taemin said. This is our chance. He activated his radio, broadcasting on all frequencies. He spoke in Korean, using the old military codes that Jiwoo had helped him research from historical databases. UEDF Indomitable. This is Civilian Salvage Vessel Second Chance. Captain Taemin, Descendant Crew. We are human. We are from Earth. Request parley under Sol System protocols. The ship went silent. Then a new tone entered the voice when it spoke again. Curiosity. Hope. Human genetic markers confirmed in 3 individuals aboard. DNA analysis shows Earth origin. You are children of Earth? Yes, Taemin said. Our ancestors came from Earth. We are human. How long has it been? The voice asked. How long since the evacuation order? 50,000 years, Taemin answered. Another long pause. When the voice spoke again, it sounded almost sad. I am Captain June, or rather I am what remains of her, an artificial intelligence created from her neural patterns before the final battle. I have been waiting for humans to return, waiting to report that my mission was successful. The weapons tracking stopped. Throughout the ship, systems shifted from combat mode to standby. A hangar bay door opened near where the second chance floated. Please come to the bridge, Captain June said. I have much to tell you, and I must warn you. Emergency Protocol Omega is still active. The enemy may still be in pursuit. All non-human vessels are registering as potential hostiles. You must help me understand the current situation before I accidentally start a war. Taemin looked at his daughter and Boram. They had just stepped into something far bigger than a salvage operation. They had awakened a piece of forgotten history. And that history had questions. Questions that might have terrifying answers. Outside, the coalition fleet maintained a defensive formation. Weapons powered, but not firing. Inside the ancient warship, 3 humans walked toward the bridge, following corridors designed by their ancestors 50,000 years ago. The ship hummed around them, alive again after an eternity of sleep, waiting to share secrets that would shake the foundations of everything the galaxy believed.